All right, so this right here is the ZHIYUN CX100 CX100. Now, it is a really cool handheld light that comes with a really unique form factor, and on top of that, it packs a lot of punch. And the best part is, it has a built-in battery, which means you can pretty much have a wireless light anytime you find yourselves outdoor, and this light gives you 100 watts of power, very bright, and it gives you a lot of freedom so you're no longer plugged into stuff. Oh, hey, and do me a favor, if you find this review in any way, shape, or form helpful, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. It is really hard to keep a YouTube channel going these days, and your subscriptions are the only thing that keeps this channel going. Now, as the name kind of implies, the CX100 is a 100-watt bi-color light. It goes from 2700 up to 6500 Kelvin temperature. And when you get down to it, it's a really light light, for lack of a better term, however you phrase that. And you can tell by its form factor, honestly, at least in my opinion, this thing is really designed from the ground up to be primarily a handheld run and gun light setup. It does have some 1/4-inch inserts here at the bottom that you can put this in a light stand, but it doesn't come natively with anything that'll let you tilt the light. So it really feels like this is something you hand off to assistant and they can help you as you're out there shooting in run and gun situations. Or let's say you wanted to mount this, it's small enough you could mount this on the top of your camera and just get a key light right on top of your camera. But just because this thing is compact, do not fool yourself. This thing actually does still come with quite a bit of a punch. It comes with this little mini reflector that comes included with the light. And when this thing is attached, it pumps out a total of 3840 lux, which is a really bright for a light as small as this, and it kind of makes it an ideal accent light or even a small key or fill light in certain situations. You just have to decide where you want to use that. Okay, now to really demonstrate just how much punch the CX100 actually has, I decided to come outside. I am in Georgia, it is June, and it is exactly 4 minutes till noon. So I'm at high noon in the middle of the summer. And as you can see, the background behind me, I've basically taken the camera and exposed for the background. I don't want the background to be overexposed, but as you can see, I am obviously way underexposed. But with this little light right here, I can turn it on and boom, now you'll see I can bring my exposure up and still be ready to go. And this is really where this light has so much potential, in my opinion, is that ability to have this really easily battery portable light that has enough punch that you can actually contend with the light to some degree. Now, I'm not gonna go out and stand in the middle of a field with this, but if I can control the lighting some degree, you'll see even at high noon, the background will stay in exposure and it still exposes me at a pretty good space. And what I love about this, if you'll notice, no wires. There's nothing attached to this. It's literally just a stand, or if you had an assistant could do this, and I'm ready to go. I don't have to worry about what I am. And I can get a full 30 minutes of full power with this. And like I said, if you put a power bank on there, you can go even longer. So the portability of this light is what I consider its greatest strength. Now, as I mentioned earlier, my favorite part about this light is the built-in battery, which is actually right here, and it's just built into the light. This means you can take it, like I said, anywhere. Now, it's a 4,500 milliamp battery inside of it. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to get over 30 minutes of runtime if you are at full power. Now, you can get significantly more time if you basically dial that down and go on there. If you're about 50% power, I found I can easily get over an hour of continuous runtime on 50% power on this thing. So it just gives you a really nice option to, as I said, go out there, run and gun, and have a portable light that can slip easily in a backpack and kind of be with you whenever you might need one. I've also found that if you're in a situation like this, because it is so designed for handheld, if you have an assistant with you, even at full power, you can actually really extend that 30-minute take just by cutting it off in between takes. I mean, if you're doing a take, just have an assistant cut it off, cut it back on right before the take. That's another way to, in my opinion, practically extend that 30-minute full-on battery runtime. But the thing I really do like about this battery is you're not limited to the battery. This CX100 actually comes with 2 additional power options. Now, if you look on the bottom here, you can actually open this up and you can power and plug in either a DC power supply, which is great if you're in a studio setup. Let's be honest, if you're in a studio setup, you're going to have this plugged in, so you never have to worry about the light ever running out on you. Or it also has a USB-C port. And this USB-C port is actually a PD protocol type C fast charging port, which means you can charge this super fast. And what I really like about this is not only can you charge this like passively, but you can actually charge this while it's in use. So you can take a power bank like this, and what I like to do is I'll take a power bank and I'll put some Velcro on the back of it. And if you take a power bank like this, you can actually attach it to the back, plug it in on the bottom, and you can actually greatly extend the native battery life of this. If you have a couple power points, that means you can run this thing for a very, very long time. Once again, keeping the wireless freedom. So that is just a really, really cool thing. This would be a lot less practical if you couldn't charge it while the light was on. Now, as far as the design of the light itself, I mean, you can look at this. This thing is pretty minimalist. I mean, it kind of looks like an iPhone in a way, but as you can see on the back, there's no LED screen. It's basically a power button and 2 dial buttons, and that is the light itself. Now, as far as the power button itself, there's actually an interesting design feature to it. You have to hit the button twice. You basically hit it once, and it lights up, and then you hold it down a second time, you'll see the buttons come up, and then it'll light up. What this is designed to do is essentially keep your light from accidentally cutting on, and because this light is such a situation that, you know, this form factor, I think you're going to be throwing these in bags, and it's going to be with a lot of other stuff. I really like this design feature because it keeps it from accidentally cutting on in a bag and taking all your battery juice away from the shoe itself. So it is something to be aware of. Now on the side, there are 2 dials, like I said. One controls the white balance, and the white balance, you can dial it in from 2700 all the way to 6500. So you got a full pretty nice bicolor range, and it has a CRI of greater than or equal to 96. So the color rendition is pretty good. Now there's also a luminosity dial here on the side, and you can dial that from 0 to 100, but in all practicality, I would say it's actually about 10% to 100. You really can't get it super, super dim. I think it kind of cuts on, and it's already like, this is as low as it goes, and you can already see just how bright that is. So what that means is while this light is great if you need a lot of output and a lot of punch, if you're looking for something for more subtle control, this is not really going to give you that, because once you get below 10%, it basically goes from 0 up to 10%. So just something to be aware of if you're looking at a light like this. Now the CX100 uses a ZY mount, which is a tiny, tiny little mount, and there's a mini reflector that will come with this light. And like I said, this little mini reflector really packs a huge punch and gets this light really, really powerful. What's also nice is it comes with this little like silicone diffusion gel that you can slip right over there, and that's going to help kind of soften the light a bit. But let's be honest, this is still a pretty small, hard light source. So if you want to soften this anymore, you're going to need to get a bigger diffuser. And that's really where there's an add-on accessory to this light that I think is just absolutely vital. And that is going to be this little ZHIYUN ZY Bowens mount adapter. Now, this is a really, really awesome adapter, and it comes with some cool modifications that I do want to take a look at. Now, to put this on, you basically, I'm just going to take this off. Ooh, I'm going to cut my light off so I don't completely blind myself there. And as you can see, you just hook it right on. And it's a pretty simple, intuitive design, and boom, now I have a Bowens mount adapter here on my light. And I do want to point out a couple features of this Bowens mount adapter, because I think this is the thing that really makes this light practical and brings in some features that you're really going to want. Now, the first thing you're going to see is that this Bowens mount, it still keeps this little mini dome here inside the Bowens mount. And what that does is it allows your light to not lose all of the power that comes from this little mini reflector. It really just, bam, it keeps that power output really punchy and really nice. And let's say for some reason you are running around and don't want to use a Bowens mount, well, check this out. That silicone thing goes right on there, so you can keep it on just like you would with a mini Bowens mount. It also has a really nice feature right here where you can put an umbrella in there, which makes for a really nice big diffusion light source. Take the same thing and make it a lot more diffused. And let's be honest, it actually has a situation now where you have a mounting point where if you put this on a stand, you can now tilt the light forward and backward, which if you're going to be having a light in a studio, you 100% need that. And also, if you have an assistant, well, look at that. It gives them something nice and easy to hold on to, or they can hold on to it in a vertical or horizontal mount. So I would consider this Bowens mount adapter, if you're thinking about getting a light like this, 100% critical, especially because there's so many great Bowens mount mattifiers out there. And one thing I think this is really useful for this small little light is if you have something where, let's say you have a boom arm and you have a lantern. What's great about this is you can take a lantern softbox and put this light on there and you have a super small, soft, diffuse light that is fantastic for fill light and accent light when you're filming stuff for dramatic purposes. So as you can see, there are a lot of really intriguing components, I think, to this CX100. But anytime I do a review, especially when I'm talking to other content creators like myself, I do like to point out what I consider rooms of improvement for this light and really anything I do. And the CX100, while it does have some really, really cool, you can see one there, one of the things I'm going to talk about, is while it does have some really, really cool features, there are some rooms for improvement and things you need to be aware of if you're considering purchasing this light. Now, the first thing I am going to point out about this light that I would consider a room for improvement or something you need to be aware of is I would consider this light kind of more of a blunt instrument. This is not a light if you're someone that really demands precise control. This is not going to be a light that does it. The number one thing is that it doesn't have an LED sitting on the back, so you can't tell exactly where you are in things like Kelvin temperature and luminance. So while you can dial in your luminance here on the side, and you can see that, you can't really tell if you're at like 4650 or 5000 Kelvin. It's one of those things you just have to kind of sit there and guess. So that lack of the dial control and the lack of verification is one of those things that you're more lighting by eye than lighting by actual Kelvin temperature and stuff like that. So if you're someone that demands precision in your lights, this is not something that's going to be particularly the tool for you. The second area that I would point out that you just need to be aware of if you want this is the lack of that very, very subtle power. You can see just how powerful it is, and that's as low as it goes. If I go any lower, it just cuts right off right there. You can see just how bright it starts off with. So if you want to use this light as like maybe a small accent light or somewhere to put in tight places, it's going to be hard to control that finesse from it. So it is something you need to be aware of. If you're someone that just needs a lot of punch and a lot of power, this light's going to deliver it. Finesse, not so much. The other area or room for improvement that I feel I have to bring out about this light that you need to be aware of if you're considering this is that this light does not have any kind of Bluetooth or app control. And for me, this is just a huge limitation on any light in 2024. I mean, it really takes away a lot of the ways that you can effectively use the light in a commercial setting. First of all, it takes away that precision. And also, when you're using this in a studio environment, sometimes you'll put the lights up in stands, you want to adjust kickers. It just means you have to manually go over there. A lot of times when you're in fast moving or quick situations, having an app ability to control this and dial it in while looking at a monitor or not having to cross the room is just a really nice thing. It's something that if you get this light, you do need to be aware of because it is one of those things most of us now do expect and like in our lights. However, if you really do like this form factor and the idea of this light, ZHIYUN does make another light, the MOLEST X100, that is very, very similar to this in function and design, and that does offer app control. So the good news is this kind of form factor has an option for app control. If you want it, you just have to buy another app and it's a little bit more. But if you don't care about app control and just want to run, you can just sit there and go with this. But it's nice that ZHIYUN has given us two options in both the MOLEST X100 and this CX100, depending on if you need app control. So there you go. If you are looking for a really powerful, punchy, running gun light that's got good battery power and will let you get lights without having to worry about plugging stuff in or putting V-mounts and anything else on it, this ZHIYUN CX100 does, I think, present a really, really interesting choice. As long as you're okay with knowing that this is not a precision tool, but it's something you have to dial in by eye and really go, this could be a great addition to have in your bag because it gets you good power, super, super small form factor, and more importantly, when you got those shots you just got to get in a moment out in the field, this is a tool that I think could really help you go out there and get it. Anyway, guys, I'd love to hear what you had to say about this. Leave me notes and comments down below. Yeah, go out there, keep on shooting, and yeah, I'll talk to you soon.